Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Abazadeh.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on tonight's Egg Whisperer Show. The topic of tonight's show is, why do I throw egg freezing parties? So I don't know if you know this, but my name's Dr. Amy. My last name's really long, Abazadeh, like a vase of flowers a day. And I started a website called eggfreezingparty.com in 2014. And I did it because I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that they can freeze their eggs, just like everyone knows that they can get their boobs done. And yes, I know that sounds shocking. And what a lot of people think happens at my egg freezing parties is they think that it's just a drunken fest of everyone getting totally hammered and smashed, and then I have a surgery table set up and we freeze eggs there. And no, that's actually not what happens at all. I actually just give a fertility screening talk. I want to make sure that everybody knows the basic tests that you can do to get your fertility checked. I don't know if you've heard about my Tushy method, but I'm going to keep talking about my Tushy until every single person knows the basic tests a person can do to check their fertility. T stands for tubes, U is uterus, S is sperm, H is hormones, and Y is your genetic profile. So that's basically what I do at an egg freezing party. I give a scientific presentation, I talk about everything that I want people to know about egg freezing, and the only reason why I want them to do that is because if you're learning about egg freezing, you're learning about your fertility. I actually don't want to freeze eggs. I just want people to learn about their bodies, about themselves. I want to prevent what I call fertility regret. And what better way than to hang out with like-minded people and talk about what I like to talk about most, which is fertility. You have a chance to ask questions in a group setting, one-on-one, while eating yummy food and drinking anything you want, whether it's virgin or not, but not getting drunk, promise. We don't do that there. So what happens? Every time we have a birthday, our eggs are getting older. And egg freezing is for everybody, 20s, 30s, and 40s. But if you don't know what your levels are, you might miss the opportunity of doing something when you're in your 20s. And certainly I encourage folks to get pregnant as early as possible. But I know that as we get older, time passes faster. And I hate the word older. I mean, look, we just heard this week that Hugh Grant just had his 5th baby. 5th, over the age of 50. And no one talks about how old he is. We just talk about how cute he is, that he's a dad now. And certainly it is very sweet that he's a dad. But when we have a 50-year-old woman that talks about her desire to have maybe more than 5 kids, let alone more than 1 kid, we think about her needing to see a psychiatrist. And that's certainly not fair at all. That just speaks to what I call the fertility gender gap. So what I say is that if men ran out of sperm, there would certainly be a cure. But as long as there's no cure for women, getting our fertility checked, learning about egg freezing is basically what we can do. This is part of preventive care and part of what I want fertility screening to be, a health checkup that we all do. Just this week, we heard about how the American Cancer Society changed colon cancer screening guidelines to age 45. That's close to my age. That means all my friends should be going to get colon cancer screening. So why doesn't fertility have the same thing? We have breast cancer screening, we have cervical cancer screening, colon cancer screening guidelines. What about fertility screening? I just think it's about time that everyone learns the basic tests. We know how complex life is. We know how complex medicine is. We need to know that there are simple tests that you can do to get your fertility checked. And I'm just going to call out my sister right now. She's a doctor, and so she was messaging me last night. What tests are there that I can do? And I'm like, dude, listen, I wrote my fellowship thesis project on AMH hormone. How do you not know this stuff? And so that's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are, how educated you are, who your sister is. Clearly, I have not done a good job of educating even my sister. And there are no two people that are alike. This is what I call personalized fertility care. You alone are not a number. So you're not your age, your FSH, your estradiol, your AMH. Everyone has their own personal goals. And so we need to talk about them. You need to talk about them with their doctor. We spend maybe 15 minutes to 60 minutes, perhaps once every couple years, getting our pap smear checked. How much of that time is actually spent talking about fertility? So how do you know if an egg freezing party is right for you? So you want to know your fertility health and what it means for getting pregnant. Maybe you're not even sure you want to have kids. I've certainly talked to patients who are considering egg freezing just in case they want to have kids in the future. Maybe you come from a big family and your mom didn't have problems getting pregnant, so the thought of getting your fertility checked hasn't even crossed your mind. Well, maybe going to an egg freezing party will help you just learn the basic stuff, because your mom might have had kids when she was in her 20s, and now you're looking at having kids maybe in your late 30s or even 40s. So there are 3 simple action steps that you can take today. Number 1, request an Egg Whisperer Fertility Awareness Panel. It doesn't have to be for me, but certainly it can. So those levels are done on cycle day 3 for the FSH and estradiol, and AMH as well, and AMH is a hormone that can be done anytime in the cycle. Get those levels reviewed by a fertility doctor like me, or your OBGYN if they're fertility minded. Another thing that you can do is request an egg freezing party. Believe it or not, please believe it. I have universities that actually request that I come once a year, talk to medical students, podiatry programs, nurse practitioner programs, once a year, and educate their students about fertility, because we just aren't getting enough education. The word is not out there. Every 30-year-old knows that she can get her breasts done or boobs augmented, but every 30-year-old doesn't know that there are fertility levels that you can get checked that tell you about when you're going to go through menopause. Until every person knows that, I'm going to keep throwing these parties. So if you want to join one and hear more about the science behind fertility and egg freezing, I welcome you to. And you can certainly go to eggfreezingparty.com and sign up for a webinar, and I'll be doing 2 per month. So you can sign up to find out when my next webinar will be. So that's basically why I throw egg freezing parties. I don't want women to come to my office ever again and say, "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" I wish someone had taught me these simple tests. So if you're curious about what those tests are, I welcome you to sign up for the next egg freezing party. And you're always welcome to ask me questions. Sign up for a consult, and we can talk more about your personal fertility goals and family size goals, whether it's now, later, or never. We've come to a point in society where hopefully women aren't shamed anymore about how many kids they want or don't want. And certainly I welcome everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what your sexual orientation is. I want you to become a parent if that's something that you want to do. So thank you for joining tonight. I hope that what I do will decrease time to pregnancy, increase joy for everyone who watches this show, and hopefully you're giggling just a little bit, realizing that I started Egg Freezing Party just to bring awareness to something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's fertility screening and making sure everybody knows how to keep calm and get ahead of infertility. I hope you guys have a great night. Hope to see you next week.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Bazadeh.
And you have yet another success story.
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.